Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Jake Silver Show. This may be the beginning of the end for the Donald Trump administration, with over 84% of voters agreeing that there needs to be full disclosure from the current administration on the release of the Jeffrey Epstein files. And they keep coming out with different reasons as to why they won't release the files, whether they're trying to protect victims involved in the situation or protect names listed in the files, whether they're innocent or not. They're always conjuring up some sort of way to prevent themselves from taking any accountability involving the Epstein files. Trump himself has leaned into the fact that the Epstein files are a complete hoax conjured up by the left or Democratic movement, and it's all bullshit. Well, the MAGA supporters are not buying into it, along with most of the American public. Everything from here on out has seemed like some form of distraction. They keep pointing fingers in different directions. They keep coming up with different executive orders to distract the American public from the main issue at hand, which is the release of these files. These files are particularly so important with this administration, obviously, because the Trump administration ran on the idea and the mission that they were going to give the American public full disclosure here. And we have yet to receive that. And not only that, we've been gaslit into believing that they never existed and that it's all just something to smear the name of Donald Trump. Well, that diverts us to good old Cash Money Patel. Cash Money Patel celebrates major FBI achievements and record seizures during Trump's first 200 days in office. FBI Director Cash Patel took to social media on Saturday to celebrate the Bureau's successes in the first 200 days of the Trump administration. 200 days of Trump administration from January 20th to present. FBI has arrested over 1,600 people for violent crimes against children, to include 270 arrests for human trafficking, Patel wrote on his official X account. Patel added that 1,500 kilos of fentanyl, enough lethal doses to kill 113,850,000 Americans, has also been seized in that time, which he said was a 25% increase from the same time last year and the most ever. Deputy FBI Director Dan Bongino, who had considered resigning over the Trump administration's handling of the Epstein files earlier this summer, according to our source, reposted Patel's post writing, "This isn't even the beginning of the beginning. More coming." Good old Bongino, you got to stand firm, son. I said I believed in you, and it seems like you're folding. It seems like you're giving in to your constituents around you, and you're playing ball, as simple as that. He's probably had a few backroom talks about his future and what it looked like with the Trump administration. But not only that, his future as a normal civilian and whether or not they would allow that to exist, whether or not he were to cooperate in this cover-up, because that's what it is. It's simply a cover-up. The U.S. Department of Justice has denied the existence of an Epstein client list, and President Trump defended Attorney General Pam Bondi last month, saying she's really done a very good job. You know what, Pam Bondi? You've done an amazing job, because this is not only an amazing cover-up, but this is honestly the greatest cover-up in the history of American government. Pam Bondi, you will never be out of a job after Trump's tenure as president is over. I mean, at this point, Pam Bondi could actually run for president. She has achieved a level of cover-up that has never been seen before. I mean, not only has she been able to cover up the issue of not releasing the files, but she was able to stand alongside her and her constituents while they toted around alleged documents of an Epstein list or Epstein files that had thousands of hours of videotapes, incriminating multiple people in positions of power around the world, politically, business-wise, and she's managed to push through and not only keep her job, but get praise from her higher ups. And the American public will continue to buy in to whatever it is that she needs to spit out. I mean, at this point, she could literally tell me that I was a woman and I would believe her. There is no limit to what Pam Bondi can accomplish. I mean, the shoot for the stars, Pamela. I mean, you've impressed me. I thought you'd be fired by now. I thought Bongino would be murdered by now. I thought Patel would be fired by now. But no, everyone's still in place. The Trump administration has seemingly really gotten their ducks in a row. And the first 200 days of the FBI, their report coming back, you know, taking fentanyl off the streets, saving kids and Americans, that's all fine and dandy. But that's something that keeps going on regardless of the administration. You guys promised us an Epstein list, and we're not getting it. Simple as that. So in my opinion, your first 200 days in office, Trump, have been a complete failure. And it's not that the Epstein files were revolving completely around, it's not that your success as a president was revolving completely around the release of the Epstein files. It's just that it is. You cannot, omitting the truth is the same as lying. And they're doing a little bit of both. So at this point, there is no recovery process for Donald Trump in this administration. The future of Donald Trump is very bleak. It looks a lot like this. It either looks like another assassination attempt that may or may not be successful. It looks like an impeachment that ends with J.D. Vance stepping up into the position of president of the United States. And this is it for Donald Trump. They're getting everything they can out of Donald Trump. I don't believe he really knows what's going on. His handlers around him have duped him so hard into believing that he's the one in charge. And Donald Trump is just obviously in over his head on this 4-year term. I mean, this is not going to end well for Donald Trump. And whether or not he currently knows about it or even has a feel for it, it's coming to an end soon. Donald Trump is nearly the fall guy in the current operation of Project 2025. I mean, just look at what's happened over the first 6 months. All of his voters have gotten played. The American public is beyond disgruntled, for lack of better words, with the handling of the Jeffrey Epstein files. And the lack of trust is palpable, and it won't go away. There's no way to fix this. He's already had his cronies in the FBI scrub his name entirely from these Epstein files. So whenever or if ever these files do come out, Trump will not be implicated in these files. And the GOP senators are divided over whether the Epstein documents are a distraction or a needed reckoning. That'll tell you right there which GOP senators are rhinos and which ones, the very few remain that do demand that something happen with these files. There's a small handful that do believe that something needs to happen with these files. And then the rest of them that are either rhinos or falling in line just are running with the narrative that this is all a hoax. Republican senators offered a range of responses when pressed on how the Trump administration has been handling the Epstein files controversy, with some calling it a distraction and others arguing the American people are entitled to answers. Senator Mark Wayne Mullen, Republican of Oklahoma, said he thought the situation was being used by Democrats to create a distraction from the ongoing investigations into former President Biden and others, like the probe related to Biden's use of an auto pen tool to sign important documents and the investigation into whether Obama-era officials manufactured evidence to accuse Trump of Russian collusion. Democrats have suggested Trump could be implicated in the files, but Mullen said that if such a circumstance were true, the information would have been leaked by the Biden administration. This whole Spider-Man meme of the Democrats and Republicans pointing at each other over accountability on the release of the Epstein files is more than played out. We know why the Democrats didn't release the Epstein files when they were in power. It's because all of them are implicated in them. They're all compromised by these Epstein files. That is the whole reason the Epstein files exist. This is a Mossad-backed operation. This is a collusion with the CIA and the world governments in power. This is a blackmail operation beyond what any of us can really comprehend. So if you're a Trump supporter or Republican saying, oh, well, if Trump was a pedophile, if Trump was in the files, then the Democrats and Joe Biden would have released it years ago. They would have released it when he ran in 2016. No. Remember what I told you. Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump are good friends. The Clintons and Trump have always been good friends. Democrats and Republicans are all good friends behind closed doors. You don't think they have meetings together about what's next? Of course they do. They are all compromised. Believe none of what they say. Just believe this. The truth will come out eventually, but don't wait for it. The only solution to what is currently happening in our country is by not remaining docile and by not remaining okay with status quo. If you want more from your government, if you want more for your family's life, demand it from them. How do you do that? That's a complicated answer. There's many ways to go about it, but I will tell you this one. Not many of them are very peaceful. Mullen's counterpart in the Senate, Republican Oklahoma Senator James Lankford, took more of a middle ground in his response about how the administration has been handling the Epstein files. The challenge here is there are people that are victims that are in it, and then there are folks that are not criminals that are in it as well, Lankford said. And the challenge the Department of Justice has is you've got a girl that was 14, 16 years old and was abused. Well, now she's, let's say, 26 or 30, married and has children. Maybe her family knows about this. Maybe they don't. I don't know the situation, but we got to figure out a way to be able to protect those folks that are genuine victims on all this, as well as getting out as much information as you possibly can. Sounds like a load of shit, okay? You release the documents. Those that are innocent will be innocent. The victims' lives have already been tarnished, damaged forever by this tragic involvement with these evil, vile criminals that run our world governments. Release the information. Let the public decide. Let the public lawyers do their investigations. Let their counterparts determine who is or isn't innocent in these files. It'll be very obvious once the videotapes are out, once the list of who was where and why. And the only way you're going to find the why is obviously by tracking the money. Who was funding Jeffrey Epstein? Why was he gifted all of these items and residences in his short tenure as a Mossad agent? I don't know, but I can give you a few good ideas. Senator Suzanne Collins, Republican Maine, the debate about the Epstein files was not something she was interested in talking about when approached by Fox News Digital. Of course not. They're all implicated in it. Exactly why none of these people want to talk about it. Exactly why 70, 80% of the Republicans want to move on from it. It would be a lot easier for them. It's the same reason why none of these Democratic senators or congressmen or women are not demanding that they should have Trump's head if he doesn't release the files. They're all implicated in it. You know as well as I know that they're all full of shit. Don't expect anything to change unless we take the change into our own hands. Calls for a fucking revolution, I'd say. We got to protect the children. We got to protect our integrity as American voters. And we should not be able to just lay on our backs and take this pounding from our elected officials and the manipulation tactics that have been deployed over the past 2 decades in terms of whether or not we're being told the truth with our governmental affairs. Speak of the devil. Ghislaine Maxwell prison transfer called highly unusual by former federal prison official. I'd say it is highly unusual when you transfer a known human trafficker from a high security federal prison to a low security federal prison for individuals convicted of white collar crimes and money fraud or laundering. It's just highly unusual, for lack of better words. The former assistant director at the Federal Bureau of Prisons says that Jeffrey Epstein's accomplices' move to a minimum security prison is highly unusual. Ghislaine Maxwell was transferred from a federal prison facility in Tallahassee, Florida, to a federal prison camp in Bryan, Texas, her attorney previously told Fox News Digital. Neither the Bureau of Prisons nor Maxwell's attorney gave a reason for the move. The move sparked criticism from the family of Virginia Giuffre, who said in a statement to Fox News they oppose the treatment Maxwell has been given. Why would you oppose that? Why would you oppose the treatment of a pedophile with her being transferred to a low security prison? I mean, you don't want her having a good time serving out her sentence? Have some empathy. Pedophiles are people too. Remember? It is with horror and outrage that we object to the preferential treatment convicted sex trafficker Ghislaine Maxwell has received, Giuffre's family wrote in a statement. Ghislaine Maxwell is a sexual predator who's physically assaulted minor children on multiple occasions, and she should never be shown any leniency. Yet, without any notification to the Maxwell victims, the government overnight has moved Maxwell to a minimum security luxury prison in Texas. This is the justice system failing victims right before our eyes. The justice system is failing not only the victims, but every American citizen there is. Judy Garrett, former assistant director at the Federal Bureau of Prisons, told Fox News Digital the transfer of Maxwell to FPC Bryan is highly unusual. Garrett said it's very rare for a sex offender to be transferred to a minimum security facility like FPC Bryan, adding that traditionally individuals designated as a sex offender cannot be placed inside a camp. So no sex offenders allowed in this camp. This is no longer a federal prison for Maxwell. This is a summer camp. This is a federally sponsored summer camp for her. There will probably be arts and crafts. There will be a little bit of swimming in the lake, a little bit of pickleball, tennis, golf, maybe even some field hockey. I mean, there's literally no limit to what Maxwell will be able to do this summer. This transfer is behind the Trump administration's intention to butter up Maxwell. A lot of people are saying that, oh, this is where Maxwell gets killed. This is where Maxwell dies in prison. No, if they wanted Maxwell dead in prison, they would have did it in the high security prison like they did Jeffrey. This move is not to get Maxwell killed. This move is to butter her up, loosen her up, coax her, tenderize the meat before you roast it. They're simply trying to earn her trust and to get her to testify and remove any implication of Trump's involvement in the Epstein files. This isn't an attempt to get her snuffed. This is not what that is. They could have did it years ago. They only kept her around because Trump knows her. He knew he would need Ghislaine Maxwell, and he still needs her. They're buttering her up to warm her up just enough to get her to release what they want her to release. That way, all of their scrubbed files that the FBI has been working on the past 200 days and scrubbing Trump's names from any of these documents involving Jeffrey Epstein, all of those will coincide with any testimony that Maxwell gives. This is textbook coercion. This is simple to see. This is not some grand scheme to get her poisoned or hiring an inmate to kill her in her sleep or some accidental death. This is simply to show her, hey, look what I'm capable of doing for you. All I need for you is to do X, Y, and Z for me, and then you could be free. Once they get their ducks in a row, once they get everything straightened out in terms of releasing these files and all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed, then the Epstein files will come out. Maxwell will either be thrown back into this camp, finish out some shortened term, or she'll be pardoned and released immediately by Donald Trump. But wait for it. And remember what I said. Maxwell's not going to die. Not yet. Trump has needed her. He's always needed her. Pretty sure that's how he found his wife, was through Maxwell. So, in some fucked up way, she is a hell of a matchmaker. Oh, this is great. I love when my tax dollars go to the government-funded transgender homeless shelters. New York City opens up first government-funded transgender homeless shelter in the nation. New York City opened the nation's first government-funded homeless shelter exclusively for transgender individuals, a move that's drawing sharp criticism, with opponents calling it yet another example of progressive political theater. The city is reportedly spending $63 million in taxpayer dollars. The city is reportedly spending $63 million in taxpayer dollars to fund the project, which is set to operate through 2030, The Gothamist, a local news outlet, reported. The shelter, called Ace's Place, is located in the Bronx and offers 150 beds, along with a suite of services, including on-site psychiatric care, job training, GED prep, and even culinary arts programs. Funded by the Department of Social Services and run in partnership with LGBTQ+ nonprofit Destination Tomorrow. The shelter is being hailed by city leaders as a groundbreaking national first. Supporters say the facility will provide a safe, tailored environment for transgender individuals often marginalized or victimized in traditional shelters. Officials added that the aim is to help individuals stabilize and transition into long-term housing and independence. Trannies transitioning into the real world. That's what the shelter should be called. I have a solution to propose to you for transgenders that are homeless. It's called an insane asylum. They need to be placed into a psych ward. That's just my personal opinion on it. We're wasting over $63 million in the nation's first exclusive transgender homeless shelter. When most of homeless shelters are shit anyway, they're not safe. Transgenders in homeless shelters are not the only unsafe people. Trans or not, you're not safe in a homeless shelter. It's as simple as that. So spending $63 million of taxpayer money to develop a shelter that's just going to discriminate against non-transgenders is absolutely diabolical. Throw them in a fucking psych ward. Get it over with. Some of them need straitjackets. The others probably could do with therapy, maybe some Bible studies, and some venting and, real reflection on their childhood growing up. Because this doesn't end with funding these transgender programs. It starts with homeless shelters, then it goes on to paying for their health care and their transitional treatments and hormone therapy. I mean, New York City would be the first place to do it, but this doesn't stop. This doesn't stop with homeless shelters. This is just ground zero. New York City Council Minority Leader Joanne Areola, who has consistently advocated for hiring more DHS police officers and social workers to improve safety in shelters, opposing identity-based segregation or symbolic policy gestures, criticized the new multi-million-dollar project. Every New Yorker should feel safe in our shelter system, but instead of fixing the system for everyone, the city is spending $63 million to build a separate facility based on gender identity. Yeah, that's exactly what they're doing. It's ironic that in an attempt to, incorporate and weave transgenders more into society as normal people, we're creating things like this that are only segregating them further and further from regular people. So you're either making them feel some sense of superiority to non-transgenders, but people with this particular gender identity now have this elevated level of social status. Look at my homeless shelter compared to yours. I'm going to be a Michelin-starred chef. I'm getting my GED based straight from the taxpayer's dollar. Nobody agreed on this. I mean, of course, some of the taxpayers agreed on this. They probably are ecstatic about it. But for the majority of tax-paying citizens, nobody voted, nobody decided that $63 million of their money would go towards a segregated transgender homeless shelter. All I can say is they better put together a pretty good damn meal, okay? If you're going to go get that kind of treatment in a homeless shelter, you better be whipping up some delicious etouffee, some delicious risotto. Maybe I know a lot of the LGBTQs like to be bakers, and you better be whipping up some croissants. You better whip up some crimpets, some strudels, something, solid carrot cake, something. You can't. That's one thing. You can't just be a complete weirdo and not have any talent. So there are positives from this segregated trans homeless shelter. At least they're giving them a brighter future rather than just being some strange prostitute or some OnlyFans page that our congressmen subscribe to. Zelensky says peace deal will not include giving territory to Moscow ahead of Trump-Putin summit. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky said Saturday that Ukraine will not give up any territory to Russia in efforts to reach a peace deal ahead of talks between U.S. President Donald Trump and Russian President Vladimir Putin next week. In a video posted on his social media accounts on Saturday, Zelensky addressed the war with Russia and said while he is ready for the conflict to end, Ukraine will not gift land to Moscow in the process. The answer to the Ukrainian territorial question already is in the Constitution of Ukraine. No one will deviate from this, and no one will be able to. Ukrainians will not gift their land to the occupier, Zelensky said. Earlier this week, White House spokeswoman Caroline Leavitt said the Russians expressed their desire to meet with President Trump, and the president is open to do this meeting. President Trump would like to meet with both President Putin and President Zelensky because he wants this brutal war to end. The White House is working through the details of these potential meetings, and details will be provided at the appropriate time. Now, this situation with Donald Trump meeting with Putin up in Alaska, they of course, Caroline Levitt's going to say he would like to meet with Zelensky. Nobody gives a fuck about Zelensky. Pretty soon he'll be living in one of those transgender homeless shelters in New York City. Once this war is over and Ukraine has been 80% occupied by the Russian government, there is no use for Zelensky. He's a complete failure. Once the Democrats left office, it was a wrap for Son. I mean, he should have just stepped down himself and just went to the Caymans or went to Morocco or something. Putin and Trump discussing over the land swapping of Ukraine and Russia up in Alaska is equivalent to like two big brothers ordering pizza and then the little brother screaming on the phone, screaming during their phone call with the pizza shop the whole time, saying he wants wings or he wants cheese pizza. They don't give a fuck what he wants. The little brother's going to get whatever he gets, if anything. So Putin and Trump are the big brothers in this situation. Trump is receiving enough flack with all this shit going on in his shit storm of his administration right now. So the main thing in his focus in meeting with Putin is basically giving Putin whatever the fuck he wants. He cannot continue to send money to Ukraine. He can't continue to allow more war go down with Russia and Ukraine. Trump is searching desperately for a victory. Putin is in no rush to end the war in Ukraine. I promise you that. This has been going on for over a decade. This isn't something that just sparked up out of nowhere in 2022. This is something that has been ongoing. So Putin is going to get what Putin wants. And in a sense, Trump has no cards to play in this situation. I mean, he's, like I said, he has to get a W, and he's got to get this war with Ukraine and Russia ended. And if it includes some form of territorial swap with Russia and Ukraine, it's going to happen. I don't think Russia is going to be able to take over anything like Kyiv, but Crimea and other places in the Ukraine that have been long occupied by Russian military forces, I believe he will end up getting out of this discussion with President Trump. Because it's coming to an end soon, and Zelensky is definitely being left out of the bargaining conversation here. Like I said, Ukraine was fucked the moment the Democrats left the White House. Israel's Security Cabinet approves plan to occupy Gaza City. Israel's Security Cabinet early Friday approved a plan to occupy Gaza City, marking an escalation in Israel's ongoing war against Hamas. The announcement comes after an all-night meeting of the Security Cabinet following Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu's announcement that Israel planned to retake control over the entire territory and eventually hand it off to friendly Arab forces opposed to Hamas. The Security Cabinet has approved the Prime Minister's proposal for defeating Hamas. The IDF will prepare for taking control of Gaza City while distributing humanitarian assistance to the civilian population outside the combat zones, read a post from the official X account of the Prime Minister of Israel. The office said the Security Cabinet had adopted by vote 5 principles for concluding the war, which include the disarming of Hamas, the return of all hostages, living and deceased, the demilitarization of the Gaza Strip, Israeli security control in the Gaza Strip, and the establishment of an alternative civil administration that is neither Hamas nor the Palestinian Authority. Asked in an interview with Fox News ahead of the Security Cabinet meeting if Israel would take control of all of Gaza, Netanyahu replied, "We intend to, in order to assure our security, remove Hamas there, enable the population to be free of Gaza." Now, this isn't being talked about in news quite nearly as much as it should. This is Netanyahu finally coming out and just being like, yeah, it's a wrap, son. The Gaza Strip is about to be ours. Hamas gone. any remaining Palestinians gone. And he's gonna stay 10 toes down on the claim that this is about Israeli security and safety, of preserving the state of Israel. Israel is complete bullshit. Some fake state formed in 1948 for Jews to go and hide after World War II to plot their own world domination. It's all bullshit. I will never buy it for a single second. So to all you Zionist, Christian, Republican conservatives, wake the fuck up and stop sucking on the foreskins, lack thereof, on the Jewish scum that runs the fucking world. Israel was what, 5% Jewish in the late 1800s. Now they have a huge problem with even acknowledging that Palestinians are a real thing. They want them out of Gaza. They want complete control of Gaza. They don't want any type of Palestinian forces there. All gaslighting the American public into believing that this is about Israeli safety, prosperity. This is about Jewish supremacy. This is about Jewish nationalism and perpetuating a complete genocide over the Palestinian people. Kids, women dying every day. And it's honestly disgusting that our American paying tax dollars have funded this genocide. It's something that I think about often. It's something that leaves a bad taste in my mouth when I think about being an American. It's nothing that you and I would ever agree to fund, but unfortunately it's been going on for years. And until these people are completely eradicated from our American government's influence, it's going to continue to happen. There is no limit to power in the conquest of world domination. Just remember that. There is no satisfying these people. There is no point where they'll put their sword down and say, you know what, I think this is enough. I think we are good. I think we have enough world domination. I think we have completely taken over the global economy. I think all the major political powers have been compromised enough. There is no end here, people. So, thank you so much for watching. And until next time, stay safe, stay prayed up, and I'll see you next week.